This is Bryce K. Nielsen. I've got another video today on Think and Grow Rich, which I've been listening to Principle 5 for the last week. It's called Imagination. Napoleon Hill talks about two kinds of imagination, creative and synthetic. And in the modern audio version I listened to, they changed the word synthetic to synthesized because synthetic has a negative connotation now, but it just means, as Napoleon Hill used it, it just means that different ideas were being put together. So sometimes imagination means that you're just taking things that other people already know about and you're just combining them in new ways. And sometimes it's a new idea, and that's the creative imagination. He says the creative imagination is how when we get a flash of inspiration or insight or a hunch, and that's us communicating with the got a message there. That's us communicating with receiving messages from the hang on, gotta look at my notes here. I drew a blank. So the let me go on to some stories and I'll find that in my notes. So there's two stories that are in Napoleon Hill's text, and one of them is about a kettle that produced a fortune. An old doctor comes into the back of a drugstore and turns over this, basically sells the kettle and a paddle and a note card with a few words on it to this young drugstore clerk for $500. And then he turns around and adds a new ingredient, and it turns into a fortune. And you have to read like 3 pages to find out what the company is that came out of this. But I'm not gonna give that away unless you really want me to. But don't want to. I love the way Napoleon Hill tells the story. He got curiosity going on. Like, you have to read it for a while before he tells you who it is, and that's really at work in this story. And the other story is about a preacher in Chicago who had an idea for a new college, but he needed $1 million to pay for it, and he couldn't figure out how he was going to get the $1 million. But one day he just decided that he was going to have the money within the next week, and then came up with a plan to give a sermon about it and put the information about the name of his sermon in the newspapers. And so he gives his sermon the next day, and somebody comes up to him afterwards and offers to give him the $1 million. So he got the money within 36 hours. It was really an amazing story. Now there's a bunch of other stories that come out of the modern editors' comments that be more recognizable names. So they have the story about Jeff Bezos with Amazon, Pierre Omidyar with eBay. There's an example included from one of his other books about Edison and the light bulb. I have posted about this already. Let's see. There is a comment in this chapter that I don't remember seeing in previous chapters, but it said that we're not supposed to take action on any of the things in the book until we've read the entire book, and then we come back to it. It said that it's in almost every chapter, but this is like chapter 6, and I don't remember seeing it before. Anyway, I could be wrong. I could have just missed it. I don't know that I really feel like waiting that long. How do you guys feel about that? If you're reading the book, do you want to read the whole book and then come back to it before you start doing anything? Maybe. But I wasn't aware of that until I'm halfway through this already. There is a statement which says, the moment you complete this, put the plan in writing, and then they redo it in my modern audio version in first person. The moment I put my plan in writing, I will have definitely given concrete form to my desire. Many other examples. I will put these in a document, and I'll send them to anybody who messages the word stories in a comment. Like I said, most of these are from the modern audio version, which you can listen to yourself on YouTube. I'll put that YouTube link in the comments as well. But a lot of business stories that about businesses that we would recognize the names of are in these modern comments. And a lot of them just took ideas that other people had and they just combined things together in new ways and made enormous amounts of money by doing it. So this is something that anybody can do. They make that point over and over again. Napoleon Hill says, "You can do it. It has been done before." That's in capital letters. So I mentioned in the write-up that I got 2 copies of the book, physical, that I just received them in the mail like 3 days ago. So this is the original text. That's the original text. This is printed in 2017, but it's the original text from 1937. And then this one is a smaller print. It's 2005 version, and they have one story in there that was not in the other ones I've read, and that is a success story about the creation of Southwest Airlines, and that's pretty good too. It's only in this 2005 version as far as I've seen. I might talk about that a little bit because I don't have a good source for you unless you buy the book. So there was a lawyer named Herb Kelleher in San Antonio, Texas, and an investment advisor named Roland King wanted to start a new airline because he wanted an airline that would just travel between the 3 biggest cities in Texas and not cost an arm and a leg. Most of the air travelers at the time were like businessmen that had a lot of money. The fare was too expensive. He wanted something cheaper. And he approached his lawyer, Herb Kelleher, for help. To get the help doing the paperwork. But Kelleher got enough involved with it, like they got opposition from the other airline companies trying to stop him, and they had to go to court 3 times. And finally they started, and then it took another 1.5 years before they made any money. So they had a lot of obstacles. There's a lot of persistence in a lot of these examples. It's not just creativity. It's not just imagination. But anyway, Kelleher left his law practice so he could run the airline because he got so involved in it. And talk about all sorts of innovations that they used in there. A 10-minute turnaround. They were promoting by word of mouth. The company's slogan, "Now there's somebody else up there who loves you." There's a lot of creative things that went in there. And this is one of the airlines that did the best when a lot of other airlines were crashing. You know, they became very profitable. But this started as a new idea. So anyway, there's a lot of that in this book. Like I said, I'll send a list of, there'll just be a brief list of who the success stories are. It won't be written up as a story, but I am intending to write a bunch of the stories out myself for posts that I'll put in the group that I just started this week. I'm not ready to announce it yet because I still got to organize the content a little bit, but I'll start inviting people to it very soon. And it will just be a personal development group. There's no business promotion in there whatsoever. It's just talking about Think and Grow Rich or other motivational stories, sharing motivational posts. There'll be a group for the success stories like I'm talking about. And we may also have some tips for marketing that are just generally applicable to any business. So again, none of this is going to be about a specific business, but that would be of help to people who are in any business trying to use Facebook to promote it, for example. That's the one I know best. But this will be a group not just for me to post, but for other people to come in and post as well. And the name of the group Maybe I shouldn't tell you the name of the group yet. But anyway, you'll like it. It's related to my new cover photo that I just got last week. And I hope you've seen that as well. Anyway, I'm going to end this. And I never found that one thing I was looking for. Infinite intelligence. I think that's what he called it. Napoleon Hill talks about this concept called the infinite intelligence. And they explain it a little better in this chapter. That it's about how matter and energy are basically different forms of the same thing. So everybody you meet, every cell in your body, even the ones in your brain that are processing impulses of thought, all of that is just a different form of the energy that includes the thoughts. And then everybody else's thoughts and brain and body are all part of the same thing. So that combination of everything is the infinite intelligence. And then we get those ideas through the subconscious mind, but it's the creative imagination that actually receives the signal. So when you get the flash of impulse, the thought, the inspired thought. I've frequently had things like where I wake up from a nap and I have an idea for a post. Or I'm driving along and boom, all of a sudden, hey, I'm going to post about this. I guess that's a form of imagination, but of creative imagination. But anyway, there's a lot of good stories in here, but there's the principle is a little hard for me to explain. I do recommend you listen to the chapter. It's almost an hour long in the audio version I have, compared to 20 pages and 17 pages in the two physical copies. But there's a lot of stories, a lot of examples. And you'll see that if you message me or comment to get that list. Anyway, I'll talk to everyone later, and have a good night, a good day, whatever time it is where you are. Thanks, everybody.